Hello, everyone. Tonight we are stepping into a world so old it forgot your name before it even learned to say its own. The air is thick with the smell of ferns, the moon is just a dented pebble in the sky, and somewhere out there something is circling in the dirt, preparing to sleep. It's not a human, it's not even close, but it knows the earth better than you do. It knows how to listen to it, how to shape it, how to let it cradle your ribs without ever asking why. You're not supposed to be here. You probably won't survive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And if you're still with me, tell me where you are in the world and what time you've wandered into this place. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You're lying still in the underbrush, too still. You can feel your lungs pressing gently against your ribcage, expanding like two slow bellows. You don't remember how long you've been here, hours maybe. The night doesn't care. It was old before you were born, and it will stay long after your bones are mulch. Above you, the canopy shifts. No wind, just the memory of something moving. You hear a branch creak, not snap, not fall, just an old whisper of wait. There's something about the stillness that tells you the world is awake even if no one's making a sound. You shift, carefully, slowly, because the night is a watcher. And if you draw too fast a breath or knock a stone wrong, it might think you're ready to be swallowed. The ground here is soft with the kind of soil that drinks water with a slurp. Your claws sink into it a little. It's not like sand, it doesn't scatter. It holds you. You can smell rot, but not the bad kind. The old holy kind. The kind of rot that feeds forests and births moss. You know this place. Maybe not consciously, but your bones do. Deep down, they've circled here before. Maybe when you were smaller, maybe when you were someone else entirely. You rise on three toes. One clawed foot forward, then the other. You stretch tail, low eyes squinting in the dark. And then without fanfare, you begin to move not forward, not away, but around. A lazy half-turn, then another. You start your circle. It's not random. It's not just twitching or indecision. There's a rhythm in your blood now, and your feet obey it like it's older than fear. You drag your claws just enough to mark the outline. The diameter's perfect, not by math, not by ruler, but by feel. Exactly wide enough for your limbs to fold. Exactly tight enough that warmth will stay trapped in the hollow. You don't think about that. You just walk. Slowly, quietly. Your legs whisper over the same tracks again and again, deepening them just a little with each pass. By the fourth loop, the leaves have been pressed into a mosaic. By the sixth, the loose stones have rolled to the edges. By the eighth, it looks like no storm ever touched it. Here's something strange. Modern birds, some of them, still do this. Pigeons, before they tuck in, shuffle in tiny spirals. Dogs do it too. Even humans turn their pillows or shift the blankets into crescent shapes before finally letting go of the day. You're not so different after all. But don't get comfortable. You're still in a world where the top predator doesn't need to chase you. It just needs to know where you sleep. Still, you feel safer in the circle. You pause and stand in the middle. The earth holds your heat now, and you remember vaguely what an old paleontologist once theorized, that some dinosaurs might have dug circular nests, not just for eggs, but also for themselves. Not quite burrows, not full dens, just hollows, cradles in the dirt, maybe for warmth, maybe for safety, maybe because they liked the way the world curved when they curled their necks. Historians still debate whether it was instinct or evolution, or some blend of both. But you here now, you just do it. You don't need the reason spelled out, you just know the body wants the earth to feel round. Another fact for you, odd but true. The ancient ammonite shells, those swirled marine fossils you sometimes see in museum gift shops, follow a logarithmic spiral. The same shape hurricanes use. The same shape galaxies follow. Even your circling isn't really a circle. It's a spiral drawn flat. The pull of the oldest math done by feet that can't count. You yawn. A slow, toothy movement that creaks your jaw just enough to let a night beetle flit away in fear. You blink once, twice, and then you lower yourself. The curve of your back matches the groove you made. Your hips tuck in. Your arms fold beneath your chest. Your tail curls. Your head. Oh, your heavy, heavy head rests right beside the edge of the circle. Not on it. Never on it. That would invite danger. You hear a distant hoot. Not an owl. Something older. Feathered, maybe. Watching from a perch it built out of habit, not architecture. The quiet resumes. You shift once more. Just slightly. And everything fits. Like falling into a memory. You're not just sleeping, you're returning. The last thought you have before your heartbeat slows and your eyes slip shut is this: maybe the circle wasn't just for safety. Maybe it was to make sure you never forgot the shape of the world. You don't remember falling asleep, only the feeling of circling. You do remember waking, though, because something rustles just beyond the edge of your spiral. And for a moment, the entire world narrows to a single breath held in your throat. The night hasn't changed. The trees still loom like stone pillars carved by time, and the air still smells like moss soaked in old thunder. But now there's a tremor faint as an eyelash against your skin. It comes from the earth, not the wind. Something walking slow, large, unsure. You don't move. You don't have to. The circle you've made is more than a nest. It's a signal, a mark. It says someone already lives here. Someone made the effort. Someone intends to stay. You listen. The rustling fades. Not gone, just choosing not to challenge you. Whatever it was it knew, the rule only fools interrupt a circle already drawn. Because circles mean awareness. Circles mean someone's watching. Still you shift. One claw twitches your foot, brushing the inner ring. Dust moves again beneath you, and before you rise, before you even fully decide to rise, your body's already doing the thing it knows best. You circle. One step, then another. Not fast, not frantic. You're not startled. You're reaffirming, remarking your space. Your first ring softened during sleep, its edges blurred by heat and breath. Now you remake it. If it seems excessive rewalking a pattern that was already there, well, remember when humans evolved and started double-checking if the front door was locked? Same vibe. You circle because the world might have changed while you weren't looking. There's something soothing about it, too. Your claws pull shallow lines, each curve more precise than the last. You don't walk in a clumsy loop like a toddler drawing with their feet. No, your path is measured, practiced, smooth. You lean slightly inward, head low, tail dragging the edge like a compass needle carving truth. Even modern reptiles exhibit this behavior in strange ways. Crocodiles, before settling, often twist and press their bodies into the mud, not to hide, just to claim. And elephants, oddly enough, will turn in slow arcs before choosing a place to die. Circles are written into more stories than we remember. Some ancient nesting grounds fossilized into rock show perfect depressions around shallow uniform. Scientists debate whether these were only for eggs or also used by adults. But the angles are too specific, the scrapes too wide. Someone larger than a hatchling left those prints. And you're not just resting, you're writing your name in the soil. 3 steps to the right. A pause. Then 2 more tighter now. The circle contracts like breath, not smaller, closer. Each rotation pulls the world inward. The leaves on the edge of the ring curl up not from wind, but from pressure. Your steps have rhythm now. Your body remembers how to keep time without a clock. There's a joke somewhere in here about prehistoric ballroom dancing. But if you're dancing, it's for no audience but the moon. And oh, the moon. She's watching. She's not full tonight, just a rough coin overhead, but you don't need her approval. Just her silver light. It falls across your back in streaks, catching the edges of your ribs like bones, half buried in glow. You could fall asleep right now mid-turn. But no, you're almost done. You settle again. Your breath stirs the dust at the center. Your limbs tuck in. This time, even your eyes don't quite close. You leave a sliver open, just in case. A fun side note, humans still have a habit of turning 3 times before lying down in bed. or fluffing the pillow just so, or pacing before falling asleep on couches. The spiral isn't gone. It's just less dusty now. And not everything follows the circle. Take ancient predators, for example. Many of them didn't dig or circle at all. They found high ground, lay flat in shadows, and waited. Their paths weren't soft spirals, they were straight lines with hard stops. Maybe because they didn't need the safety, or maybe they'd forgotten how to be held by the earth. But you remember, somewhere deep in the marrow, maybe even deeper. The strange part is how comforting it feels. Even here, even in this world where death has claws and sleep could be a trap, you feel safe. Not because you've hidden, not because you've escaped, but because the shape you've made around yourself feels right. It fits. You curl tighter. The air cools. There's a gentle hiss in the brush, maybe wind, maybe something feathered with a grudge, but you're still. And you're inside your line, and that line has power. Historians still debate whether this behavior, this spiraling before sleep, was about scent masking, temperature regulation, or simple spatial comfort. Some believe it's instinct left over from the time when mammals and reptiles split. Others say it's environmental adaptation, a response to terrain, to predators, to weather. But there's another theory, less quoted, more poetic, that circling is how ancient creatures talked to the land, that each step said, "Here I am," that each ring said, "Remember me." That sleep, when done inside a perfect loop, became less about rest and more about ritual. You breathe out, long, slow. A thread of warmth rises from your snout and vanishes into night. You blink and a single firefly, yes, they had those or something close, blinks back. This is your circle. You made it. You turned the earth into something shaped like survival. Not sharp, not loud, just round. And round sometimes is enough. You wake up with dirt in your mouth and the memory of spirals in your spine. The night's faded to that pale pre-dawn color that isn't quite light yet but promises to be. Everything smells a little colder, a little wetter. You don't know what woke you. A sound? A shift in temperature, a twitch in the earth's breath. You lift your head, slowly, carefully. The circular hollow you carved is still there. It holds your warmth like an after-image. Steam rises faintly from where your belly had pressed into the soil, like the land itself is exhaling you. Then a detail your eyes missed in the dark little flecks in the dirt. Not rocks, not bugs, stories. The ground remembers things. You nudge the soil with your snout, dragging your lower jaw gently through the groove you slept in. Your teeth clack lightly on something hard. Not dangerous, just old. A seed pod, round and dry, likely cracked open decades ago, or longer. The kind of thing that fell from a plant that doesn't grow here anymore. You find more. A piece of shell thin as a fingernail and patterned like a faded honeycomb. Too light to be recent, too stubborn to have blown away. You can almost hear the voice of a creature that hatched from it, or didn't. There's even something that might be a feather coiled and hardened, blackened by time. Half a memory of flight stuck in the earth like a lost question. And something else. A tooth. You sniff it. It's dull now, no longer sharp enough to break skin. You brush it with your claw. It's cracked, worn, at the root, bitten from something larger than you. Maybe one of your kind. Maybe something worse. A fossil almost, but not quite. Still half alive with scent and dust. You feel a cold weight settle in your belly. This circle has been made before. Maybe not in this exact patch of forest, but nearby. The same size, the same method, the same instinct. You're not the first one to try surviving this way. That's the part they don't tell you in museums. That bones and rocks are only the loudest memories. The quiet ones stay buried in sleeping hollows, in the shape of feet dragging in spirals, in the echo of bellies pressed into the earth so tightly that they left their heat behind. You shift, uncoiling your legs and rising slowly. The groove you left behind looks different now in the gray morning. It's not just a nest, it's a record. a circular sentence written in a language you never learned but somehow understand. There's a theory, maybe weird, maybe too poetic, that certain dinosaurs, particularly the ones close to birds, carried behavioral memory in muscle groups. Not just inherited instinct, but actual patterns of movement embedded in their neurology. Like choreography passed down not by teaching, but by existing. Step here. Circle that way. Rest with your spine curved just so. Some call it nonsense. Others believe we still carry it, explaining why a baby chick just hours old will spin before sitting. Why a toddler drags a blanket and loops before napping on the floor. You walk the edge of your hollow again, slowly tracing the groove one last time before stepping away. But this time, you don't close the circle. You break it. One foot drags outward, a line leading away. It's a simple gesture, but it means something. The earth needs to know you're still moving. Somewhere behind you, something chirps. A cluster of lizard birds flutters down from a tree. They peck at the ground near your hollow. One hops inside, fluffs its feathers, then hops back out. It doesn't sleep there. It just wanted to see. The dirt remembers more than sleep. It remembers touch. It remembers pressure. It remembers the soft thump of your heart through your ribs while you were dreaming. Odd fact time. There's a prehistoric site in Mongolia where dozens of oviraptorid skeletons were found nestled in curled positions atop circular depressions, arms outstretched tails, wrapped jaws slightly open. For decades, scientists assumed they were fossilized in nests, protecting eggs, but newer analysis suggests something else. These weren't all parents. Some were juveniles, some had no eggs at all. They were just sleeping in perfect circles, and something terrible interrupted them. Historians still debate whether a sandstorm buried them or a sudden volcanic event flash fossilized them mid-rest. Either way, the Earth caught them mid-spiral. The final step of a habit passed down through ages. You keep walking. Through the underbrush, around roots older than memory, across stone shelves polished by the weight of 1,000 nights. You're not hunting. You're not fleeing. You're just looking for the next circle, because you'll need another one. It's not something you get to do just once. Every sleep needs its shape. Every pause must be chosen. And the dirt, generous as it is, forgets quickly. You have to remind it, again and again, with your steps, with your claws, with your breath. You step over a half-collapsed spiral from earlier in the season. The walls are too shallow now, eroded by rain. The imprint of a body long gone remains only as a soft smudge in the dust. You pause 1 foot on its edge. You don't touch it. You don't disturb it. The past doesn't like being rearranged. Instead, you walk on. The sun is threatening to rise, now bleeding orange into the black. Not yet, but soon. You quicken your pace. Just a little. The way someone does when they know the store is closing and they still have something to return. The ground ahead is soft again. A patch of dry moss, some loose pebbles. Promising. You exhale and turn. 1 step, then another, and the circle begins again. You don't start thinking about safety until you've already turned 3 times. It creeps in slow like fog through the trees. There's no conscious thought, just a tightness in your belly and a twitch in your tail that says this is a good spot. This is where nothing reaches you. You drag your foot gently along the edge of the forming ring, widening it by instinct. The curve you make is shallow, never too deep. Just enough to say, this is mine. A quiet declaration to the leaves, the wind, and anything else watching from the treetops. You settle again, and this time you press deeper. Your ribs flex, expand, then compress as your full weight finds its place. Your sternum thumps lightly against packed soil. You shift until your flanks meet the curved edge. Not flat against it, no. You want the sides cupped. Held. Cradled. Your back curves gently, shoulders rising just a bit higher than your hips, forming a kind of shell around your softest parts. It's not comfortable in the human sense. No mattress, no pillow, but it's correct. Like a missing puzzle piece slipping into place. You don't need soft, you need precise. And the precision of this circle might save your life. Because here's what predators hate: uncertainty. They like clean outlines, obvious targets. They want to know where your head is, where your chest rises, where they should strike. But when you're curled this way, neck arched, tail-wrapped limbs folded tight, it's hard to tell which part of you is real and which part is shadow. Where is the spine? Which end has the eyes? The heartbeat. Predators don't like puzzles in the dark. It makes them pause. And a pause is all you need. There's evidence of this. Fossils have been found with healed claw marks across their backs, not fatal, but close. The spacing suggests a predator missed, not because it was weak, because it misjudged the target. Some scientists believe these kinds of injuries happened while the victim was curled. The attacker aimed for the head, hit the hip instead. Circles make decoys out of your own body. Your eye slips shut again. Not fully, just enough to feign indifference. The breeze moves across the canopy in long, dragging exhalations. Leaves hiss. A dry branch knocks against another with a hollow thunk. You don't flinch. You know how to be still. You know that stillness in this position is almost sacred. Your breath rises and falls, but it does so inwardly, your sides barely moving. Your nostrils narrow, your chest swells through your spine instead of out through your ribs. You are hiding in plain sight, and here's where the science gets weird. The shape of your circle isn't random. It's mathematically precise in ways humans are still trying to model. Some sleeping pits from the Cretaceous have near-perfect symmetry. 360-degree curves, consistent depth-defined center. Not dug with tools, just made by weight, movement, repetition. One researcher proposed that certain dinosaurs might have had pressure-sensitive skin, allowing them to feel when the circle was correct, like built-in protractors made of muscle and nerve. Historians still debate whether this is plausible or just poetic nonsense. You don't care. You just know it feels right. There's a whisper of movement far off. A rustle, a splash, the gentle complaint of something large stepping in water. You flick your tail, but not in fear. More like acknowledgement. You're not hidden, not completely, but you're unreadable, and that's just as powerful. You let your breath deepen. Inhale through the nostrils, slow and shallow. Exhale through the mouth, lips barely parted. A silent rhythm steady as tide. Funny thing, modern-day pangolins, armadillos, even hedgehogs curl in similar ways. Not for comfort, but for survival. The shape protects the core. It makes the softest parts unreachable. Your eyes close again, this time a little longer. You dream briefly of feathers, not on wings, but on necks, backs, tails. You dream of your own skin growing softer, warmer, more vibrant. Covered in something halfway between fluff and armor. Not for flight, not for speed, for insulation, for display, for sleeping in circles under a cold moon. It's a strange dream, but not inaccurate. Fossil impressions suggest that even some of the scaly ones had primitive feathering, especially on the limbs and tails. Not full plumage, not yet, but fuzz, down. A prehistoric pajama set. You shift again, curling tighter, and your body settles into the circle like it was born for it. Because maybe it was. Maybe all this, the circling, the nesting, the curled ribs and tucked claws, is older than instinct. Maybe it's coded in the oldest part of your brain. The part that doesn't think, only knows. You listen once more. The wind is softer now. Whatever stepped in the water has gone quiet. Maybe moved on. Maybe it's still there. Doesn't matter. You're not moving again tonight. The world around you could burn and you'd still hold this shape. You are not asleep, not fully, but you are ready. And sometimes in this place that's better than rest. Your heartbeat slows. You shift once more. Your snout presses lightly against your thigh. Your eye opens, glints in the moonlight, then closes. And your circle, perfect and silent, holds you like an answer waiting to be whispered. Something grunts nearby. Not loud, not aggressive, Just a low chest deep sound of acknowledgement. You don't respond, not with sound at least. You twitch your tail once just enough to say, I heard you. I'm not food, try somewhere else. The grunt passes. Foliage stirs crushed under heavy steps. Someone else is finding their own circle. You're not alone in this forest. You never are. And you know without even looking that other bodies are curling in dirt around you. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel. Each with their own circle, their own method, their own reasons. To your left, there's a rustle, then a sound like dried leaves being folded. That's a herd animal, probably something with a neck too long for comfort and a brain the size of a walnut. They don't circle, they collapse. A great flump of meat and bone just slamming into the ground like gravity won the argument mid-stride. Not elegant, but efficient. A few meters behind you, there's a sharper sound, claws clicking against bark. That's a tree sleeper. Feathers. Light frame. Digs claws into the trunk and just hangs. Not because it's more comfortable, but because it means being above the teeth. You've tried it before. Once. Hated it. Too wobbly. Not enough ground under you. And then, just beyond the ferns, something even stranger, a one-legged posture. You can't see it, but you know the type. Probably a proto-bird balancing in the dark like a drunken flamingo. Head tucked into back feathers, one eye closed, one open, a riddle of sleep and readiness. Historians still debate whether this pose was for thermal regulation or if it evolved as a way to keep the leg muscles from locking up during long sleeps. Some believe it was a predator trick, look asleep, but be ready to hop and fly at the first branch crack. Everyone has their way. Some trust trees. Some trust gravity. You trust the circle. You're starting to wonder who taught you that. And now, the strangest part of all, they're all doing this together, even if none of them acknowledge it. An invisible community, a bedtime neighborhood of ancient creatures, each constructing their own version of rest. No bedtime stories, no lullabies, just the quiet rustle of sleeping rituals. Even the ones who don't sleep have their signals. There's a creature that doesn't stop walking. You've seen it once. Big. Broad-hipped, four-footed. Never sleeps fully, just slows. Head droops, eyes blink slower, but it never stops moving. Its path was like a living trail. Spiral-shaped, but stretched out like someone pulled the circle into a long thread. It walked in endless loops, wearing the land down into low troughs that confused even the wind. Odd fact in Argentina, fossilized trackways show sauropods walking in wide, sweeping patterns, loops and spirals etched into stone. Some paleontologists suggest these were feeding patterns. Others think they may have been sleeping paths. Worn roots walked over and over until the body collapsed right in the center. Some species, it seems, didn't trust stopping. But you do. And more importantly, you understand the others around you. Not in words, in rhythms. In the way everyone has chosen a method and stuck with it night after night. Nobody's sleeping in a shape that doesn't fit them. That's how you know who survives and who doesn't. You shift your legs slightly, just enough to feel the outer rim of your circle with your toe. Still there, still yours. There's movement again. Not toward you, just in parallel. Another body carving a hollow. You hear the slow crunch of foliage being rearranged, the careful thud of a tail packing down a back wall. A ritual like yours, but messier. Maybe a juvenile. Maybe someone still learning. You hear them sneeze. That little chi-K sound that's more throat than nose. You smile. Well, as close as something with your teeth can come to smiling. Here's the thing. People forget dinosaurs weren't silent. The ones that slept in circles probably had calls. Low murmurs, throat rattles, not roars. Just small sounds. Proximity signals. I'm over here, you're over there. We're cool. You breathe out long and slow, letting your own body make a soft hum. The trees don't answer. But someone in the brush does. A soft, sleepy trill. Not conversation, just acknowledgement. The night goes on like this. Bodies curled, claws tucked, heads bowed, and all of it without instruction, no alpha, no rules, just shared behaviors built from shared dangers. Because here in the dark, the ones who sleep strangely are the ones who get noticed. And getting noticed is the last thing you want. You close your eyes fully now, just for a moment. And as you do, you think of the feathered one on the branch balancing, of the flopped giant with its spine exposed, of the one-legged dozer pretending not to listen. You're all part of this bedtime menagerie. 1,000 species, 1,000 methods, all gathered in the hush between moonset and dawn. None of them as safe as a circle in the dirt. And none of them can stop you from dreaming. You drift again? Not quite awake, not quite gone. Somewhere between pulse and fog. The world turns in silence and you spin with it, curled tight. Head tucked, claws pulled close like the corners of a blanket you never really needed. And in that in-between state, the dreams begin. You're not supposed to remember them, but this one comes on strong, sunlit, wide, warm. The kind of warmth that smells like crushed pine and old sap. The kind that rises up from the ground like breath. Not just from the sun overhead, but from the earth itself. You're lying in a shallow depression, same shape as the one you made tonight, but this one is already warm, preheated. The land beneath you isn't waiting for the sun. It's already soaked it up. A low, ancient basin surrounded by tall grass and egg-pocked dirt. There's no circle to dig this time. The sun's done it for you. You shift in your sleep and the warmth follows. Your sides glow. Your tail flattens against a memory of dry stone. The dream lifts you above time, lets you look down on yourself and see how the circle isn't just about safety. It's about heat. Here's a fact. Most people forget during the Cretaceous, many parts of the world were warmer, flatter, and more humid. Open plains baked under constant sun, and the creatures that lived there didn't just survive, they optimized. Sleeping pits weren't just for hiding. They were solar traps. The curved walls collected warmth like a shallow oven. Perfect for regulating blood flow, conserving energy, and yes, even digestion. Historians still debate whether this behavior evolved primarily for temperature control or camouflage. But fossils from certain desert regions show concentric impressions where multiple circles appeared in close formation, almost like a shared sunbed. In your dream, the thermals rise. You feel them as soft vibrations in your belly curling up your spine. The ground hums with morning. You haven't moved in hours and still your blood is warm. You could lie here forever if it weren't for the shifting winds. Because as comforting as heat is, it also carries danger. Thermals attract more than sleepers. They carry scent. They stretch shadows. They draw attention from eyes that only hunt in stillness. You lift your dream head and see the shimmer in the distance. Not water, not mirage. Just rising heat distorting shapes that might be claws, might be hunger. So you begin to turn again in the dream, not to leave, just to reposition, to press your belly deeper into the baked ground, to make the edges of your circle rise higher, shield you from scent from view. You know now what you didn't know when you first circled. The warmth is as much enemy as it is friend. Odd little science moment for you. Some modern desert lizards dig shallow cooling bowls to regulate body temperature. But when nights get too cold, they reverse course using their own bodies to shape a concave heat trap. This behavior has been documented even in hatchlings who've never seen an adult model it. Where did they learn it? You twitch in your sleep. Back in the present. The dream's fading. But the warmth lingers more imagined than real. The forest around you is still cool, not cold. The trees block most of the rising light, but the memory of thermal dreams curls around your neck like a scarf. You open one eye. The sun has started to spill through the canopy. Not all at once, just slivers. Thin blades of light slicing through mist, and one of them has found the rim of your circle. You don't move, but you feel the difference. The shallow arc you shaped during the night has become something else in the morning. A heat trap. The first warmth of the day is captured, pulled and held. Not just on your back, but around you. The air is different inside the circle, slightly thicker, slightly sweeter. You can smell dew evaporating before it ever lands. You shift a little, pressing your side against the inner rim, and the warmth spreads. A coincidence or design? You think of the dream again, of the creature lying in a basin of baked earth sunlight, pouring over its ribs, predators blurred by shimmering waves of heat. And you wonder how much of what you do is memory from a time you never lived. Maybe your body dreams first. Maybe you're the last one to catch up. You let yourself lie there longer than usual. Let the sun do the work. Let the pit keep its promise. And even though you're awake now, the circle doesn't vanish. It feels more solid in the light, like a structure built overnight that held. You breathe in through your nose, pulling the warm air deep into your chest. Your heart thumps once, twice, slow, confident. You're not hungry yet. The world is still quiet. There's a tremble behind your ear, faint as a whisper. Another animal shifting. Not a threat, just someone waking up. Someone else who shaped their sleep with intention. You don't turn to look. You don't need to. The forest isn't yours, but the circle is. It's enough. You close your eyes again just for a heartbeat. Let the sun trace your spine. Let the warmth linger. Let the ghost of the dream remind you that this shape wasn't just about comfort or hiding or survival. It was about remembering. The earth had heat long before it had you. But you spiral maker, dirt curler, circle sleeper, you're one of the few who learned how to ask it to stay. When you finally stand, the earth tries to keep you. It clings in small ways, bits of bark stuck to your flank, a smear of leaf mold across your snout, your claws caked in mud that clings like a memory. You stretch one leg, then the other tail, lifting spine arching with a crackle that sounds like two old trees groaning in agreement. You're not clean, and that's the point. There's something almost ritualistic about it. You look down at your circle, once perfect, now softened by your departure. There's a small indentation in the center where your rib cage rested all night. You snort softly and flick a piece of moss from your chest. In the human world, waking up dirty is a problem. In this world, it's evidence. You don't walk away from sleep unmarked, you carry it with you. On your scales, in your scent, in the way your claws drag slightly slower for the first few steps, like you're still half asleep, still shaped by the arc you left behind. As you walk, you notice the burrs first. Tiny seed pods caught in the fuzz along your thighs, tucked behind joints, stuck under your arms. Hitchhikers, opportunists, plants gambling on mobility. You don't bother picking them off. They're not hurting you, and besides, they help. Because you don't smell like yourself anymore. You smell like the ground. Crushed ferns, old bark fungus, dust, leaf oil, a bit of your own salt. It's not camouflage in the visual sense. But in a world that hunts by scent, it's close enough to invisibility. You shuffle through the brush with less caution now. The sun's higher, the predators are slower, or hungrier. But even they respect daylight in the way you respect cliffs or sudden cold. And then you look back. The circle is already fading. The rising light smooths its edges and a curious ground crawler has started poking around its rim. The shape will vanish soon, kicked apart by passing feet or blown into blur by the wind. But what lingers is the you that stayed in it. That version of yourself still curled dreaming is not entirely gone. It left pieces behind, a pressed claw mark, a few scales, a particular angle of scent. Enough that if something were hunting you now, they'd pause at that hollow and think, wait, wasn't it just here? They'd smell the plants, the mud, the sleep, and they'd hesitate. And that hesitation would be your advantage. There's a fossil in Utah, might as well tell you about it, that shows something strange, overlapping trackways around a shallow depression. Not predator tracks, not feeding signs, just motion. A large animal circling several times, lying down, getting up, circling again. And the kicker, no clear trail leaving. It just disappears. Historians still debate whether it was covered by erosion or if something else masked the departure. but some believe the dinosaur erased its exit, kicked dirt backward over its trail. A primitive vanish act, like sweeping away your footprints with your own tail. You try something like that. As you pass under a low branch, you pause and double back. You drag your tail across your previous steps, not enough to confuse yourself, but just enough to break the line. You stomp once in the brush, turning up new scents. You even rub your snout against a tree trunk, leaving a new chemical message. Here now. Not there. It's all part of the method. The circle is never just where you sleep. It's where you rehearse survival. And not just for you, for the young ones too. Out ahead, you hear them before you see them, the high-pitched chirp clicks of juveniles practicing. Play sleeping. They chase each other in clumsy arcs, their little feet kicking up dust. One spins in a lopsided loop, flops down dramatically, then pops back up with a squeak that could be laughter. You stop at the edge of their clearing. They don't notice you, or they pretend not to. The adults nearby pretend not to notice them pretending. It's a cycle. You watch as a smaller one, fluffy, nervous, tries to dig a circle. It walks 2 loops, then gets distracted by a bug. Starts again. Spins the wrong direction. Steps in its own path. Eventually, it plops down in a shape that looks more like a comma than a ring. But it's a start. Odd fact, many modern birds, chickens, hawks, even penguins exhibit nesting behavior without ever having laid an egg. Juveniles make practice nests, shallow scrapes in dirt or piles of leaves, not for warmth, not for protection, just to learn the motion. That's what's happening here. You watch one of the older juveniles correct its younger sibling. A gentle nudge, a step back. A demonstration of the turn. The claw drag. The tuck, the final curl. It's not school, it's inheritance. Passed down not through words or warnings, but through dirt. You step away before they notice your attention. Let them keep their pride. You don't need to correct them. Their bodies already know what to do. The spiral is in their spine. They just have to stumble into it enough times to remember. You glance back one more time at your own trail. It's already becoming harder to see. A few pebbles have rolled over your drag marks. A lizard has scuttled through the center. The light has shifted, erasing the contrast. But if someone came along, someone like you, they'd still see it. They'd know. A circle slept here. A creature dreamed here. A life warmed the ground and then walked away clean but not untouched. Because no one ever truly leaves a circle clean. They spin in circles until they fall down. It's both absurd and sacred watching these tiny bundles of fuzz and ankle-height ambition chase their own tails across the clearing. One makes a full rotation, then wobbles and collapses like a broken toy. Another gets it nearly right, forming a clean loop with its toes before tripping over its own pride. You perch behind a fern, half-hidden tail, coiled neatly under your body. You're not supposed to be watching. Adults pretend they don't care. That learning to spiral is just something the little ones do on their own, like squawking at bugs or trying to roar and accidentally hiccuping. But you're watching. You remember, they're learning the circle, not by being told, by doing. Over and over, across the dust in full view of predators who don't happen to be looking this morning. It's the kind of innocence that would make you nervous if it weren't so familiar. One juvenile short snout, longer arms, probably 3 seasons old, starts again. It walks in a jerky arc, foot placement uneven. It's trying too hard. You can almost see the thought process: circle equals safety, circle, else adult must do, circle right. It finishes the loop, crouches down, then lifts its head expectantly. Then immediately stands back up, disappointed in itself. You resist the urge to snort. Another one, a fluffier, clumsier type with one crooked claw, gets it by accident. It spins too far, wobbles, and lands in the perfect spiral. Head tucked, tail curved, eyes wide in surprise, like, did I do it? The others cheer. Not with words, but with chirps and foot taps, and that chaotic energy that says, we saw you, you did the thing. Then they copy it. Dozens of small circles form like bubbles across the clearing. Some perfect, most lopsided, but all trying. Here's a fun fact. Some ground nesting birds today kill deer, for instance, make false nests as decoys. The chicks watch this, copy it, even before they lay eggs of their own. It's a kind of rehearsal, an instinct flex, like playing make-believe but with future survival at stake. Your species isn't so different. In this part of the forest, the little ones learn to survive by spiraling, long before they understand why, long before they feel the cold nights or smell the wet breath of something hunting them. They practice now so they don't die later. Historians still debate whether juvenile sleep behavior was innate or taught. Some fossils show hatchlings curled in textbook-perfect spirals suggesting instinct, but others are found in strange positions, sprawled, crooked, chaotic. Did those ones just never learn? Were they too young or too alone? No one knows. But you know this, the ones who practice are the ones who get better. Not perfect, just better. And better is sometimes all it takes. You shift your weight, easing back on your haunches. You could leave now. Find your next feeding ground. But you stay, because there's something magnetic about watching them loop. One of the juveniles breaks rank, trots over toward the edge of the clearing where you sit. Stops, eyes you. You don't move. It snorts once, then very deliberately begins to circle right in front of you. Wide loops, exaggerated steps, overacting like a stage performer who knows their best audience member has finally arrived. It completes the spiral and flops dramatically into it. A puff of dust billows up. It blinks at you. You tilt your head. A moment passes. Then you rise just slightly and begin your own slow circle. One full turn. Not flashy, not showy, just precise. Your claws whisper against the dirt, your tail arcs just enough to draw a line, and when you settle, it's with the weight of a master at rest. The juvenile stares, mouth slightly open, and just like that, the student becomes the mimic again. It scrambles to its feet, chirps something that could be again, if translated poorly, and resumes circling. The other juveniles start copying you now, not their peers. One makes an almost perfect ring and bows deeply into it like a performer taking a curtain call. You've become the blueprint. You didn't ask for this. But the spiral chooses its own mentors. There's a theory, loose poetic, that some sleep behaviors in dinosaurs were not just about the individual. They were signals, cultural signposts, a way for older individuals to pass down nonverbal knowledge. The spiral was both a behavior and a message. We were here. We survived. This is how. It makes sense in a way. You can't lecture a juvenile, can't scold them into remembering, but you can show them a shape, and they'll chase that shape like it's a game. Until one day, it's the only thing keeping them alive. Odd fact, in the fossil beds of Liaoning, China, they found juvenile dinosaurs curled in tight rings tucked into shallow pits. No adults nearby, likely victims of sudden volcanic ash. But the body language is telling. They died practicing the same motions you saw here today. Their last act was a spiral. You watch the juveniles grow tired. The circles become sloppier, the flops more dramatic. Eventually they stop. Some sleep, some pretend. Some just roll over and eat a bug for emotional support. You stand and back away slowly, not drawing attention. You've shown enough. Let them keep their pride. As you leave the clearing, you walk through a dozen tiny spirals, shallow and scuffed, filled with feathers, droppings, misplaced rocks. A toddler museum of intention, none of them perfect, but all real. The ground has never been so hopeful. You're walking now alone again. But the rhythm of the juvenile still lingers in your stride, those frantic, imperfect spirals, like laughter scribbled across the earth. You step around one last shallow pit and enter a quieter part of the forest where the ground grows harder and the canopy heavier. The light here is thinner, colder. Things hide here, not just sleep. Your pace slows. You've entered predator country. There's no sign posted, no scent line or rotting carcass to warn you. Just the air itself, still expectant, as if it's holding its breath. And you know the kind that lives here, the ones that don't circle. You freeze near a fallen log and watch a shadow move across the far slope, sleek, deliberate, no sound. just presence. The kind of predator that chooses angles, not spirals. This one doesn't draw shapes in the ground before it rests. It finds a crevice between roots or a dip in the rocks and lies flat like spilled oil. No tail flicking, no soft breaths, just stillness so sharp it becomes its own kind of weapon. You crouch. Not from fear, from respect. These creatures have no interest in warmth or dreams. Their bodies are coiled like tension itself. When they sleep, it's not sleep, it's waiting. And the places they lie down are shaped like ambushes. There's a theory among some paleobiologists that predatory dinosaurs, especially the larger, more solitary ones, didn't circle at all. Or if they did, it wasn't about comfort. It was recon. Scoping the terrain, mapping escape routes, marking presence for future selves. Sleep for them wasn't about safety. It was about resetting the trap. You watch the shadow pause, then lower itself slowly, shoulders first, then hips. No circle, just a long exhale and a straight sprawl. The tail flicks once the head tucks in just enough to blur the outline. From a distance, it looks like a log. The opposite of what you do. Your spiral draws attention then masks it. This creature's rest is pure subtraction. And you notice something else: no juveniles around. No students practicing. No light-footed mimics making mistakes in the open. This is not a place for learning. It's a place where silence feeds on movement. Odd fact, certain modern predators like crocodiles or big cats often sleep in straight lines, especially when hunting frequently. Not for energy conservation, but for body alignment. It allows quicker reaction. A predator waking from a curled position has to untangle. A straight body, ready to lunge. You stay low and still. You don't blink. You let your spiral instincts go dormant. This isn't your circle anymore. This is their line. A chill breeze threads through the undergrowth, dragging the scent of something raw. A broken shell, maybe, or something worse. You shift your foot just slightly and feel dried blood in the soil. Not yours. Not old. You inhale, but only through one nostril. An old trick. Lets you test the air without sending too much of yourself into it. There's no movement, but the angle sleeper is still there. You inch back, careful not to step on exposed root or bone. The spiral doesn't protect you here. You have to think like they do: fast, quiet, forgettable. Historians still debate whether circling behavior led to slower reflexes in some species. A trade-off between safety and rest and vulnerability and wake. Predators couldn't afford to delay. The moment between sleep and strike was life or death. But pray like you survived by sleeping smarter, not faster. You backtrack along a side trail heading toward higher ground where the air tastes cleaner and the trees grow at uneven angles. This place is shaped by landslides, not blood. You relax slightly though, not completely. Just enough to let your tail swing. You find a ridge where the moss is thick and the wind cuts across from the north. From here, you can see the treetops shiver. Beyond that, open land. Safety, if not soon, then eventually. But for now, you crouch behind a rock and breathe. And in your mind, you retrace the spiral. The one you didn't make here but wish you had. Your muscles twitch in the memory of it. There's a comfort in that shape even without dirt beneath you. And that's when it hits you. They don't get that. The angle sleepers, the straight line lurkers. They never get the warmth of a circle, the ritual, the inheritance. They never get to pass that shape down to the next generation. They only pass down teeth. That's not nothing, but it's not the same. You sigh long and low and let your claws dig into the moss. Just a little. Enough to leave a mark. Not a full spiral, just the beginning of one. A promise to yourself. Next place you rest, you'll do it right. For now, the predators keep their angles, but you'll keep your curve. You find the circle before you find the body. It's old, sunken, overgrown, but not forgotten. The ferns haven't reclaimed it fully. There's still a depression in the soil, just wide enough for a large adult with the faintest curve left in the outer rim. You pause, nose, low claws flexing into the indentations like you're pressing your hands into someone else's memory. The scent is faded, but the meaning isn't. You circle it once. Not out of ritual this time, but reverence. There's a solemn weight here, the kind that makes even birds stop singing. A hush that has nothing to do with fear. Just stillness, memory. Then you see her, half buried at the center, moss crusted over her shoulders, ribs collapsed inward like a tent folded wrong. Her tail curls around something small. 5 somethings, actually. The eggs are stone now, frozen like pearls and ash. One of them cracked the other's whole. No signs of hatching, no tiny exit wounds. Just perfect, sealed potential. You don't breathe for a long moment. This wasn't just a sleeping circle. This was the last circle, a fossilized snapshot of instinct so deep it survived death. She didn't run, didn't scatter her eggs, didn't claw her way from the storm or the fire or whatever swallowed this forest on that particular day. She circled, she tucked, she protected, and then she didn't move again. It's not unheard of. In several sites across the world, paleontologists have uncovered adult dinosaurs found curled around clutches of unhatched eggs, not nesting guarding. Their limbs wrapped just so. Their spines curved in that familiar crescent. No signs of trauma, no escape attempt. As if death arrived gently, quietly. A blanket instead of a blade. Historians still debate whether this behavior was conscious or just reflex. Whether it was a final act of loyalty or simply the last dance of muscle memory. Some argue it's romanticized nonsense. Fossils can't tell you intentions. But standing here looking down at her spiral-shaped grave, it's hard to believe it was anything else. You step closer. There's no scent of decay, just the metallic breath of mineralized time. You lower your head not as a bow, but to look more carefully. One claw hovers over the edge of her imprint, and for a second your own foot lines up perfectly with hers. Same size, same pressure, same shape. The past feels nearer than it should. Odd fact, scientists have discovered that certain brooding behaviors like curling around offspring are deeply conserved across species. Even today, some birds and reptiles will die in place rather than abandon their nests, especially when the young haven't moved yet. There's no reward for it. Just something in the bones that says stay. You exhale slow. The eggs are flawless, no cracks in 3 of them. One looks like it might have been damaged from within half a mark, where a beak could have poked, but it never broke through. The 5th is sunken slightly, collapsed by time. They're silent now. But once there was a heartbeat, maybe 5, maybe none. You'll never know. But she stayed. Whatever storm hit, ash flood, ice quake, it didn't move her. You feel a tightness in your throat you weren't expecting. Not sadness, not even grief. Just recognition. Because you know what she was doing. She was circling like the world didn't matter. Like nothing beyond this little ring of dirt was worth caring about. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of leaving. You step back. You want to sit. To curl. To mimic her. But it feels like stealing. So instead, you make your own circle. Just beside hers. Not touching. Not overlapping. But close enough that if the ground could remember, it would see the echo. Your claws drag the line with reverence. Your breath comes slow. You don't sleep. You don't lie down. You just make the shape, a tribute, and then you leave it. Not because you're done, but because she wasn't. You walk away softly, your tail brushing the edge of your spiral, smudging it slightly. Imperfect. Human-like. Honest. There's a reason the fossil record doesn't capture everything. Some things aren't made to be preserved. Some things are made to be done in the moment. Circles like this, real ones, aren't built for memory. They're built for presence. But once in a while, one gets caught. Saved. Like this one. Like hers. And it reminds you of the cost. Spiraling to sleep may be instinct, but spiraling to die, that's something else. The path ahead is dry, cracked, baked into a riddle of dust and brittle roots. Your steps kick up tiny ghosts of soil that drift and vanish before they land. The air smells of baked resin and the faint sweetness of something old trying to grow through drought. You're between seasons now. The kind of time where the wind forgets what it's supposed to be doing and the trees haven't yet decided if they're alive or not. You press on through a thinning canopy, sunlight slicing down in sharp beams. You wince more from the brightness than the heat. Here's where the circles start changing. The dirt is no longer soft enough to press your ribs into without effort. The ground doesn't yield. It judges. If you tried to spiral here the same way you did in the mossy lowlands, you'd bruise your hip and spend the night listening to your bones complain. So you adapt. Your claws scrape instead of press. The pattern you carve is shallower, wider. Less about holding heat now, more about finding even footing. You draw the circle anyway, but this one isn't for sleeping yet. This one's for cooling. You press your chest low and feel nothing. The ground is warm, too warm. You lie still and wait. Let your body radiate the extra heat outward. Let the dry circle act as a boundary. A place where the sun doesn't chase you past the edge. Odd fact, in arid environments today, animals dig shallow pits not for warmth, but for its opposite. Jackals and foxes scrape cool depressions during the heat of day. Lizards seek out stone shadows and press their bellies to cold slabs. Some desert birds even create dust-bathing hollows that also serve as thermal shelters. You're no different, and as the sun leans harder into the day, you feel your circle begin to work. Heat rises outward away from your belly. Your ribs feel less tight. Your vision stops pulsing at the edges. This isn't comfort, it's strategy. A good circle knows what it needs to be. It changes with the season. In flood months, it's a mound, not a pit. High ground you build by dragging debris into a ring, then curling atop it like royalty atop a damp throne. In cold months, it deepens. You dig with your full body, twisting, pushing until the earth wraps you like a shell. Your breath fogs the inner rim. Your spine steams like a kiln. But now is the dry season, and the circles flatten out, go wide open, like umbrellas flipped against the ground. Not for hiding, for breathing. Historians still debate whether seasonal circle behavior was tied to evolutionary biology or simply terrain. Some argue that climate dictated nest architecture, not instinct. Others insist the circle was flexible by nature, an expression, not a fixed design. You're too busy surviving to care which side of the debate wins. You shift once, dragging your tail in a lazy arc behind you. It lands with a faint whump, displacing dust in the exact curve of a crescent moon. You breathe deeply. There's movement in the distance, low, rhythmic. Not threatening. A herd maybe, something slow and stompy. They leave gouges in the ground, not spirals. Their sleep is standing or in piles like felled logs. You've seen them trip over each other trying to lie down. Hilarious. Inefficient. Not your problem. Your circle holds. A breeze kicks up. A dry one carries with it the scent of scorched bark and waterless air. You flick your eye toward a nearby hill where the ground is cracked into scale-like patterns. There are faded circles there too. Not yours, not fresh, old like forgotten intentions. One of them is split clean through the middle by a trench, maybe from erosion, maybe something worse. It's a scar through what used to be safety. You stare at it for a while. Circles can't save you from everything. Sometimes the world just shifts, and what was once your boundary becomes a fracture. You rise slowly and stretch, front limbs extended back stiff. The heat hits you in a sudden wave like someone opened an oven door. You consider staying, but the wind changes direction and your instincts twitch. Time to move. The circle's done its job. You drag a claw lazily as you walk away, scarring the outer edge of the ring just enough to say used. You don't need another creature wasting time in a spent pit. Let them make their own. As you pass, you see the dust already beginning to settle. In an hour, your circle will be gone. Flat Earth again. Same as the others. But for this moment, it was perfect. And tomorrow, or maybe tonight, it will need to be something else. There's a phrase some humans use: a moving target is harder to hit. Makes sense. but a changing target. That's smarter. You don't just move through the world. You let the world move through you, reshaping the way you sleep. Breathe, dig. Your circles aren't fixed. They're seasonal, personal, tactical, and no predator can memorize that. You disappear over the ridge where the shadows have grown longer and the dirt turns soft again. Somewhere underfoot, the ground is already waiting for your next spiral, and you can feel the shape forming in your mind before your claws ever touch it. The sky is doing something wrong. It's supposed to be calm now. Late afternoon, wind-down air, thick with the smells of cooling leaves and stretched shadows. But instead, the air is twitching. Not the light kind of twitch, like when bugs argue over a puddle. No, this is a deep twitch, like the land is trying to exhale and keeps getting stuck. You pause at the edge of a clearing, 1 foot still mid-step. Every instinct says circle. Now, you don't argue. The dirt here is soft enough to mold. Loose clay with a top layer of broken twigs and dry grass. You drop low, head bowed, tail already sweeping. Your claws begin the motion like they were waiting for permission. One circle, tight, efficient, no flare. You're mid-rotation when the first vibration hits your chest. It's not predator steps. Too wide, too low, too constant. The ground moves, not violently. Not like a landslide or stampede. More like a ripple through your bones, a rolling shrug from beneath your ribs. You freeze. Here's the thing about prehistoric earthquakes. They didn't give warnings. No sirens. No tectonic Twitter feed. Just a shift, a pause, a new angle under your feet. Sometimes no sound at all, just a correction in the spine of the earth. You drop into your incomplete circle, tail curled and eyes wide. The forest reacts before you do. Leaves leap upward like they're trying to fly. Birds, 3 different species, erupt from trees all at once, a panicked mutiny of feathers. Somewhere behind you, a distant crash as a dead tree finally gives up pretending to be alive. Then the real quake hits. It comes in waves. 3 deep pulses that make your vision bounce. Your claws dig into the rim of your unfinished spiral, not to flee, to hold, to stay inside the only shape that still makes sense. You don't run, you tighten. Your circle warps as the earth shivers. The outer edge crumbles inward slightly. Dust falls into your nostrils. You sneeze, then snap your jaw shut to keep your teeth from clacking too loudly. Something enormous groans in the distance, a hillside, or a fault line, or maybe just a tree with opinions. And then, stillness, a post-quake silence. Not true quiet, just absence. As if the forest itself forgot how to exhale. You stay curled, eyes half open. Your circle is no longer perfect. The right arc has cracked. A small fissure runs under your hind legs. It doesn't hurt. It just feels wrong. You shift slowly. Remark the edges. It's not vanity, it's instinct. The shape must hold, even if the earth beneath it doesn't. Odd fact: fossilized dinosaur tracks sometimes show strange distortions. Footprints stretched, compressed, or twisted. Some of these deformations line up with known ancient seismic faults. One theory suggests certain track sites capture not just movement but earthquake behavior, how creatures adapted in real time to a shifting world. Some even include preserved sleeping circles warped by the quake mid-sleep, a snapshot of sudden waking, of bodies that curled and stayed curled even as the land betrayed them. You finish redrawing the circle. It's not for sleep anymore, not tonight. This one is a scar, a memory marker. You'll leave it behind not as a shelter but as a warning. A place the earth spoke. A reminder that even the most sacred shapes get broken. Historians still debate whether some species returned to damaged nests or avoided them forever. Whether a warped circle meant weakness or wisdom. Did they learn? Did they move on? You will, because your body resembles the quake. Not in pain, in posture. Your tail flicks to the left, now slightly farther than usual. Compensating. Your next steps will fall differently. Your next spiral will lean even if you don't mean it to. That's the funny part. Once your world shifts, you never spiral quite the same again. You rise slowly. The air still smells like panic, but quieter now, calmer. The birds have stopped yelling. The ground isn't humming anymore, just thinking. You step out of the circle. Not over it, through it. One claw in the fissure, one in the stable half. You don't look back. Not all spirals are for returning to. As you walk, you think about the ancient ones. The circles warped by tectonics preserved in sediment like broken vinyl records. Those spirals tell a different kind of story. Not of sleep, not even of survival, but of interruption. An interruption in this world is a kind of predator too. You walk faster now. The next place you rest will need new rules. Firmer ground, higher elevation, better tree cover in case the sky decides to fall next. But even as you move forward, part of you still carries the broken circle. Like a limp, like a hymn. You'll spiral again soon. But tonight, you might not sleep. You arrive on the plains just after moonrise, and for a moment you forget why you came. Because everything here glows. The grass is short and silver in the pale light, bending gently beneath a breeze that doesn't carry threat. No scent of predators, no heat of stampedes, just silence stretched wide across open land, broken only by the occasional chirp or grunt from creatures too content to be clever. And then you see them. Circles, dozens of them, no hundreds, spaced just far enough apart to avoid touching. Each one a hollow pressed into the earth like a careful thumbprint. Not random, not chaotic, spaced with intention. The distance between them echoes your own reach, wide enough for a tail swing, close enough to feel the breath of your neighbor. You step forward gently. Each circle is quiet, not abandoned, inhabited. You move closer and the shapes begin to reveal their keepers. A long-backed creature curled so tightly its head rests on its ankles. A thick, frilled herbivore shaped like a comma, eyes barely open. A pair of smaller ones tucked side by side, their circles overlapping slightly, an exception, not a rule. You're walking through a city of sleepers, a settlement without fire. A community without language, just breath, rhythm, and circles. You slow your steps. You want to speak but don't. Not because you can't, but because you'd ruin the stillness. Your claws touch soft earth, and each sound is swallowed instantly. This isn't your spiral, not yet, but the land is inviting. You find an empty patch near the edge. One where the ground is just uneven enough to suggest someone circled here before, but not recently. The grass bends easily, the dirt is warm. It feels like home, but with a view. And so you begin. Your feet draw the line. Not too wide, not too deep, just enough. Each step echoes the ones you took before, but with a little more care, a little more awe. Because here your circle will be one of many, not isolated, not forgotten. It will join the constellation of shapes that hold this field together like threads in a vast quiet net. Odd fact: scientists in Wyoming once discovered a fossilized site with repeated consistent circular depressions, one every few meters each, with minor variations in depth and size. The species isn't fully identified, but the spacing and arrangement suggest communal nesting or sleeping behavior. No social structures have been proven. But something about the site feels organized. Historians still debate whether dinosaurs exhibited herd sleeping or simply tolerated proximity. But sites like these make the idea of communal spiraling hard to ignore. You complete your circle and lie down. Your chest meets the earth, your limbs fold in. Tail curves, eyes blink slowly. You're not tired, not exactly, but the air is encouraging. Nearby, another sleeper shifts just slightly. Their spiral adjusts. Not from fear, from instinct, a ripple in the grass, a response to your presence, not alarmed, just acknowledging. You breathe in together, and for the first time in many nights you feel watched, not hunted, not threatened. Witnessed. This is what the predators don't understand. They see the circles and think targets. They don't see the lines connecting them. In the open like this, your spiral isn't just a shelter. It's a signal to others like you, to the ones who turn the same way before sleep, who drag their tails in curves instead of straight lines, who knew that being alone was dangerous and that stillness could be shared. You wonder if the stars above envy you. Their spirals are endless galaxies wrapped in silence too far away to hear each other. But down here on this ancient plane, every curve touches another. Not physically, but in rhythm. There's a kind of breathing that only happens in groups. You didn't know that until now. You listen. One creature snorts in its sleep. Another shifts their claw, scraping a line back into place. The whole plane pulses softly like a single chest rising and falling beneath a shared sky. You smile. Not with your face. With your spine. With the way you let the dirt hold your weight, you relax, not in defeat but in trust. This is the safest you've ever been. Because tonight, the Earth doesn't hold one spiral. It holds a chorus. And you're singing with them. You leave just before dawn, quietly stepping out of your circle like you're afraid to wake it. Behind you, the plane of spirals still shimmers silver blue, each hollow, cradling a body wrapped in sleep. A few have already risen silhouettes, stretching necks or shaking off dew, but most remain tucked and undisturbed like the night decided to hold them a little longer. You walk softly between the pits, careful not to crumble the edges. Each one feels sacred now. Not because of what they are, but because of what they aren't. They aren't random. They aren't chaotic. They're not scrapes of panic or desperation. They're chosen shapes formed deliberately in a world that rarely allows choice. But not every creature chooses. You find the first one on the outskirts, an old carcass partially collapsed. Not curled, not circled, just dropped. Legs outstretched, neck twisted, spine arched the wrong way like the body tried to fall before it finished deciding how. You stop nose low. There's no violence here. No tooth marks, no drag trail, just nothing. An unfinished ending, the shape of a creature that laid down without ceremony. You look again. Still no spiral. The Earth didn't hold it. It just took it. There are others. Further on, you pass a dry gully where bones are stacked like forgotten tools. They don't rest in pits. They lie askew like sticks thrown by a tired child. No pattern, no grace, just remnants. Odd fact, some fossil sites reveal clusters of dinosaur remains that show no evidence of sleeping posture. No curled tails, no limb-tucked silhouettes. Just straight spines, broken ribs, splayed legs. Historians suggest these might have been victims of flash floods or disease. But the lack of circular behavior hints at something more. Perhaps some species simply never learned to sleep safe. And when the storms came, they paid for it. You stand over one such skeleton, now bleached and half-buried. A narrow skull, long digits, no obvious injuries, just badly placed trust in a patch of land that didn't hold it when the world tilted. You shake your head, tail flicking unconsciously. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was arrogance. Maybe it was a species that thought sleep was just a pause, not a strategy. You can't imagine that now. You glance behind you toward the field you came from. The chorus of spirals. The ones who still dream in curves. And then ahead of you, the forest returns. The ground softens and the ferns start thickening again. You step onto loam that smells like moisture and new light. Here you find what you didn't expect. Another spiral. Old, collapsed, but deliberate. A circle with no body, just the shape. You crouch beside it. Press your claw into the groove. It gives slightly damp soil rich with memory. You run a line along the outer edge. There's no scent, no fresh markings. Whoever made it long ago. And left. But the spiral remains. And that's the difference. The ones who never circled left nothing behind. Just bones and questions. But this is a signature, a footprint made of repetition, a letter in a language that only those who've curled their ribs into the dirt will understand. You smile again, soft, internal. You wonder who they were. Not their species, not their size, but their shape. Because whoever made this, whether they lived or died, fled or rested, dreamed or didn't, they made the shape. And the shape survived. There's something comforting about that. Even when everything else falls apart, the spiral stays. You don't touch it further. You just rise and keep walking. The forest closes around you again. Dappled light, bird calls, the rush of distant water. And you think for a moment how strange it is that something as simple as a sleeping posture might have shaped survival itself. Not strength, not speed, shape. The ones who circled adapted, left fewer sharp angles, left fewer clues, confused predators, conserved warmth, hid heartbeat and scent. The ones who didn't, they disappeared. Historians still debate whether the spiral was a side effect of body type or a behavioral advantage. But deep down, you already know the answer. You know because you still walk in circles before you sleep. You still turn 3 times. Not because it looks good, because it works. You find a clearing soft moss-filtered light. Your feet move before your thoughts do. 1 step, 2, turn, drag, circle. The groove forms quickly, precisely, almost unconsciously. And as you settle into it, head bowed, limbs curled, tail wrapped close, you whisper, not aloud but through your posture, I remember. You sleep knowing you've done something the ones who vanished never did. You shape the night. You sleep, deeply this time. No twitches. No half-lidded blinking. No rehearsed alertness. Just full surrender to the curve you've drawn beneath you. A final exhale into the dirt that holds your chest like a second rib cage. And in the dream, the spiral doesn't stop. It grows. The circle you carved becomes a coil stretching outward, not with your steps, but with time. It twists through seasons, across floods, through ashfalls and drought. Your body is no longer inside it, but part of it. Your spine becomes a path. Your claws are signposts. The groove is no longer just for you, it holds a lineage. You see creatures walking it, some with feathers, some with sails on their backs, one with eyes on the sides of its head and a tail so stiff it can't turn properly but tries anyway. They all circle, some awkwardly, some gracefully, some as if they were born mid-rotation. You dream of the spiral like it's a nest, a dance, a doorway. And when you wake just before the sun pushes its full weight over the trees, you don't move. Not yet. You listen. The forest is quiet, but not empty. Far off the call of something small and fast. A splash in a shallow pool. The soft clatter of leaves settling after some nocturnal drama you thankfully missed. The world is resuming. And you remain curled head resting gently on the inside of your elbow, like a child who fell asleep mid-thought. The ground under you has warmed in the night and your back is cool with dew. It's perfect if only for a few more minutes. You shift your hips just slightly, a subtle tightening of the curve, because you like it here. Not the location, the shape. Even now, even after sleep, you don't unfold completely. Your body hesitates, like it remembers the circle not as an event but as a suggestion. Why uncoil? Why straighten? It's funny this far into time and no one ever taught you this. There were no lessons, no etched diagrams in the bark of old trees. Just movement, imitation, memory. Somewhere eons back, a creature turned once before lying down and didn't get eaten. And the spiral began. There's a theory, half dismissed, half beloved, that sleep shapes left behind may have served as early maps. Not for travel, but for behavior. That long after the footprints washed away the circle said, this was a good place. This was a safe shape. You believe that. Because every time you circle, you feel a little less alone. And now the day calls. You rise slowly. No rush, no predator in sight. Your limbs unfold like petals soaked in sun. Tail first, then shoulders, neck last. Your breath fogs the air for just a second. You look down at your spiral. It's almost flawless. A slight imperfection near the rim where your hind leg kicked up a clump of moss mid-sleep. But you leave it. A signature. Something to say you were real. Then you walk away not straight, but at a gentle diagonal. Because you never leave the world in lines. You glance back once, and in the shadowed hollow your circle remains. A soft impression in the soil. Waiting. Not for you, for the next. Maybe a juvenile who needs to learn. Maybe something you'll never meet, but it's there. And it says everything. So now as you reach the edge of this journey, slow down your breath and listen to the circle still humming beneath you. It doesn't matter what kind of creature you are, or were, or will be. The spiral holds you just the same. In dirt, in memory, in dream. You've walked the path of those who turned before rest. Those who tucked their limbs in tight, those who let the earth shape them as much as they shaped it. You've seen how a perfect pit wasn't just a bed, it was a blueprint. A whisper passed down through claws and dust. A shared ritual in a world that didn't offer many guarantees. Safety wasn't a place, it was a posture. And maybe that's still true. Maybe when you toss in your sheets, spinning slowly before sleep, it's not just comfort. Maybe it's your bones remembering something older than language, older than fear. The way the young ones circled in play. The way the mothers curled around eggs that never opened. The way even death sometimes left its body in a perfect ring. The spiral continues, not because it needs to, because it wants to. So rest now. Let the curve hold you. You don't need to understand it. Just turn once, then again. Let the ground welcome your weight. And let the shape do what it was always meant to do. Keep you safe, just in case the night gets rough.